Hi, I'm Terry Cooke, and we are back with another season of Vital Signs TV on Cable 14. It's a chance for us to talk about Hamilton, about ways in which you can be engaged in creating a better community, discussing the issues that matter to Hamiltonians, and explore some fascinating personalities who are contributing to what's happening here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Art Gallery of Hamilton's Film Festival. I've got Ryan Ferguson, who's the curator of film there. The Hamilton Community Foundation is doing something new and novel. This coming Saturday, we are sponsoring a viewing of Citizen Jane, Battle for the City, a story of one of my favorite and great urbanists, Jane Jacobs. She of Life and Death of Great American Cities and Dark Age Ahead, and it's really a documentary that explores her great battle with Robert Moses, the great builder in New York City and New York State, and the conflict and visions of what makes cities great. Part of that will be a panel presentation that includes one of the stars of the film, Mary Rowe, who's a good friend and is now the executive advisor to the Premier of Ontario, along with Mary Lou Tanner, who is the chief planner of the city of Burlington and active volunteer and resident here in Hamilton, as well as his nibs, Mayor Fred Eisenberger, my erstwhile squash partner. I get to moderate that panel, and so for those who are Jane Jacobs junkies or people who just care about urbanism in Hamilton, we think you'll love that film and hope you'll join us. There's still some tickets on sale, which, let me segue to you. Welcome. Sure. Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to be part of the film festival this year, and it's going to be even bigger and better than it's been in the past. But I want to start by talking a little bit about your story.
Sure. About
how you came to do this work, what kind of informed your view on the importance of film to the culture and vibrancy of the community. And so tell us a little bit about Ryan Ferguson and how you came to do this work.
Sure. Well, I was born here in Hamilton. I lived here until I was 2 and then grew up in Waterdown.
That's part of Hamilton now. I want you to know the good folks of Flamborough are still grateful to me.
I was a resident there at the time. Yes, so in a way I've always been a resident of the city of Hamilton.
There you go.
Post-dated. And so when I was growing up, I was a huge movie lover. I was a huge music lover. My high school job was in a jumbo video, so I was the movie nerd in my local video store growing up. And as I moved towards a career, I ended up studying broadcasting. I wanted to be close to music, which was my first passion. And I went into the commercial radio industry for a short period of time. Found that wasn't really what I'd been looking for as far as being attached to music was concerned. So I ended up moving into the music industry. I worked at Sonic Unyon Records here in Hamilton for over a decade. And we had a great distribution company, one of the largest independent music distributors in the country. So we worked importing music from all over the world to Canada.
With the ubiquitous Tim Podacek.
Yes, yes.
One of the great YouTube videos of all time was me sitting next to him at the Economic Summit about Hamilton and Brooklyn, and where he advised the city of Hamilton and its officials what they could best do to help the cultural industry
language possible.
In his usual piquant way. Yes.
Well, that didn't surprise me at all. Yes, I've known Tim for a long time. And through that, we had a great business. It was an excellent opportunity. Got me used to being involved in working with artists. I helped book tours. I was a musician myself, so I traveled the world as a musician. But that, with digital music and the internet, that was one of the first areas of the music industry that shrunk quite quickly.
Got disrupted.
Yeah, the physical the distribution of physical music. Not a lot of people were buying CDs. So as that industry was winding down, largely en masse, I was looking for new opportunities and ended up taking a position with this film festival that I am now the director of. I ran the ticketing for the film festival 5 years ago, and it was an opportunity for me to apply the love of film that I'd had for years and years and years. I had attended TIFF almost every year, go to premieres, always was a subscriber to the Broadway at one point in time. So, and I always attended the gallery's film programming. So
John Zamitis.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I actually built
Love
a
the
building
Broadway.
right across the street and was a lover of the Broadway, but also early in my career got to develop the March of Dimes Sons of Italy project.
Oh, yeah.
Fully accessible early Hamilton project in the
Yeah.
early 90s. So I remember the neighborhood well, and remember all the good work that the Broadway did here.
Yeah, and I saw some great films there, and I think that was my first experience with film culture. Growing up in Waterdown at the time I did, we didn't really have, schools were a lot different than they are now, and there wasn't extensive media programs available in high schools at the time. So I didn't really have much first-hand experience with filmmaking, with movie making. I never grew up in a family or in a household with a camera. So that was never a tangible career for me when I was young. But then going through working administrative positions in, the music business and other industries, it sort of helped me develop a broader skill set that I think in an arts organization is a really great asset to have. Because
So let me stop you there, because two things I'm curious about. Ways in which great film has inspired or informed your view of the world. Just tell me about either great filmmakers or great film experiences you've had. And then secondly, I want to talk more broadly about the impact of film and culture on Hamilton, because you've obviously been a part of different parts of that sector, that industry, for quite a long time now, and you've also seen pretty dramatic changes in this community. I want you to reflect upon that, but start with the films that you've loved or that have kind of formed your life.
Well, I think one of the great things about working in a video store at the time I did was the video store was really the go-to place to find out about cinema. As VHS was becoming the big standard in the late 80s through the 90s, everything was getting released. So you had this sudden influx of great film that was only available in the cinema previously. So I was able to devour a lot of cinema history. I loved Jean-Luc Godard. That was one of the first filmmakers I latched onto. So great cinematic experiences, I think, was finding these works and then actually learning that you could go to a theater like the Broadway and seeing David Lynch's Eraserhead tour. My boss at the gallery always talks about his first experience with that film was at the Broadway, and it's the same. Getting to see one of these artifacts put up on the screen and shown the way a movie's supposed to be experienced. I think I can't point to a single definitive moment of movie going. I think
not even a midnight screening at Rocky Horror Picture Show on
I have
Friday
attended a number of those. We have one of those coming up during our festival this year. Yeah, not quite midnight, but close. But yeah, those experiences of actually sitting in a movie theater with an audience and feeling the collective emotion of a moment in a film. Again, I can't pinpoint an exact one, but there's something different about that experience that you can't have at home. You can't have outside of a proper cinematic experience. So one of my great memories of my early film loving was trying to find the VHS copies that were being sold in all the video stores as they started converting to DVDs. And the first time I found a copy of Jean-Luc Godard's film Weekend, which was one I'd never seen but I'd always heard about. And that moment of actually finally being able to connect with this piece of history that you haven't experienced to this point.
And great film changes us.
Yes. Great film. I think film's the most accessible art form, and it's also one of the most dynamic because it takes so many different elements and puts them together. Different forms of art all come together to make the film. And that can inform the way you look at the world in so many different ways. It's not just the storytelling, it's the cinematography, it's the use of light and color and sound, and all of those experiences. You can detach yourself from the world around you at some points and feel things around you the way you do in a film, because I think film is immersive and it does give us that opportunity to reflect on the world around us differently.
And now that you immerse yourself and work in this, has that perception changed? Has it become workmanlike for you? Do you get tired of that
I hope
immersion?
not. I mean, when you're watching hundreds of films a year to try and determine, and a lot of the time programming is a very specific type of work. Programmers are not only trying to find work that meets certain criteria from a creative or aesthetic standpoint, but you're also trying to find work that speaks to an audience. We can show great films that may not speak to anyone in the city of Hamilton, and we've succeeded in bringing a great film to the city, but we may not have succeeded in engaging an audience and actually expanding a conversation. So when you're programming, a lot of times you are looking for very specific things that may not meet your own personal, may not fulfill your own personal interests, but are part of the bigger picture of working. So I hope that I haven't become tired of that process yet, because I think being able to experience all these, you know, different perspectives through film is one of the great.
My pet peeve, and we'll maybe touch on it over a beer as opposed to on this it's just mediocrity in content. It's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and yet it's harder to find stuff that I find resonates and provokes great emotion or learning or a broader experience. And maybe it's the Netflixing of the world, I don't know, but it makes me appreciate that much more when I see great film.
It is the double-edged sword of accessibility to the tools to create and to the tools to distribute. Is there's far more good work being made now than ever, but there's also far more
lousy stuff,
bad, mediocre work being made now.
On that low note, we're going to come back on a high note. I'm with Ryan Ferguson from the Art Gallery of Hamilton's Film Festival. I'm Terry Cooke. You're watching Hamilton's Vital Signs. We'll be right back.
Online shopping. Soon it will be the way many of us shop for just about everything. And that's where we come in. Canada Post delivers more parcels to Canadians than anyone else. Canada Post, delivering the online world.
If you are ready to play, we are ready to pay. Kiwanis TV Bingo is coming your way. Pick up those $3 bingo cards at any one of almost 200 vendors around the Hamilton community. Tune into Cable 14 on Monday nights at 7 p.m. and win cash. Over $150,000 up for grabs this season. You won't want to miss it. Break a dabber.
Hi, we're back. I'm Terry Cooke. You're watching Vital Signs, and we're talking about the film festival at the Art Gallery of Hamilton with Ryan Ferguson, who is the curator. Let's talk about the festival. This year, as I understand it, you've got 54 films by 25 directors in 18 different languages.
Yes.
Tell me about the process of coming to judgments around what content you're going to show, what audiences you're going to pursue, and how does this thing unravel?
Yeah, so I personally spend most of my year looking for films, keeping things in mind, seeing how the early half of the festival season develops. Yeah. So Sundance, Berlin, the Hot Docs Festival in Toronto, even all the way through to the end of Cannes now in France. So
that is a tough, bloody assignment, right?
Those are. I'm not going to any of those places.
Really?
Well,
you should be negotiating a better contract. That's
maybe I'll get you to manage me on my new.
Very good.
So watching the developments at those festivals, that I do have a lot of access to creators, distributors, people who help finance the films. So we do see a lot of the films early in the year. Hot Docs is the festival I visit most frequently. Documentaries have been a huge growth area for our festival, I think, over the last several years. And I think that that form is the one that, in the new means of production, the camera can come out of your pocket, the budget can be smaller, you can create the film on your own. Documentary filmmaking, I think, has accelerated much faster than narrative filmmaking under those conditions, which makes sense because we're documenting this conversation. We could go out into the street and document all sorts of things. So we collect films over the course of the year, and then we have a programming committee who meets through the beginning half of the summer, usually June through to the middle of August at the latest, and we review the films that have come to us over the course of the year. Late in that process, the Toronto International Film Festival starts to announce its lineup, and that's where we start to see some of the titles that are premiering there that we may have access to. Programming happens quite late in the game at most film festivals because it gives you the opportunity. The longer you wait, the better your opportunity is to get the newest film.
Got it.
So this year we did pull a number of films from TIFF's program. But then we meet as a group and we have...
And is that because of proximity? Is it because the show's playing in Toronto and are 40 minutes down the road, they want to tack it on? Or?
I think that actually is no. It's
Okay.
the opposite to that. A lot of times, if a show's playing in Toronto and we're 40 minutes down the road, the industry would rather we drive 40 minutes down the road.
Got it.
To fill the theater there, and then they don't have to bother sending it to us.
Yep.
I've experienced different versions of that in my my time in this role. It's not the rule, but it does happen. So then we meet as a group and review the titles and do bounce them off a number of criteria. One of the big pushes in the last several years has been the gender imbalance in filmmaking. It's been a hot topic in the film industry, and we have been on a slow course to bring our gender balance up to an even 50%. We almost made it this year. Next year was our target year, so we're well on track with that. But that's other criteria is the diversity of voice in the festival. Diversity of language. We're trying to represent as many of the people in our city and in our communities as possible, and as many of the voices that deserve to be heard as we can, while still maintaining a high level of quality of programming. We're looking at films this year, just off the top of my head, the award-winning films. We have the top 2 prize winners from Cannes, which is the first time our festival has ever had those 2 films in the same year. Wow. So it is quite an achievement. We're very, very pleased to present both of those, the Palme d'Or winner and the Queer Palm winner this year.
Sold out yet?
Not sold out yet.
Wow.
So there's still tickets available. We did sell out of our opening night film, which is Loving Vincent. It's the world's first oil-painted feature film. But the good news is, we just found out a couple of hours ago that we have a second screening. So on Friday, October 20th, we've added a second screening of Loving Vincent.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for those who couldn't get in on the first one.
And I was shamelessly promoting our Community Foundation showing of Citizen Jane.
And what a great film.
Saturday. But we're doing a panel discussion afterward with some key informants. I take it that's also part of what you're doing with a number of your performances, that you're actually trying to engage the audience in different ways.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about the film festival that separates it from a lot of the work we do throughout the year, because we do have a year-round film program, is the opportunity to engage audiences and use film as a way to open up conversations. So film going around our festival isn't a passive experience. It's engagement. You're involved with a discussion following the film. Sometimes we'll have cast members, directors hosting Q&As, but we like to have as many immersive events during the festival as possible, because I think it's not just about presenting great film, but it's about growing the audience and engaging the community at large as well. So
let's step back now, because I was earlier on asking you to think about and comment upon what's happening in Hamilton and draw a connection between this film festival and the broader cultural renaissance that's happening here. And I want you to start with, why is a staid and true art gallery founded in 1914, our oldest and probably most cherished cultural institution, even running a film festival? I mean, that's a relatively recent phenomenon.
Yes.
Speak to me about kind of the art gallery's focus on broadening its audience and its outreach to the community, where the film festival fits, and then put into context what you've seen both in the music business and in the film business in Hamilton as a reflection of what's happening here right now?
Sure. So the film festival started as an outgrowth of the Art Gallery of Hamilton's year-round film program. When the Broadway cinema closed, there was a huge vacancy downtown in the opportunities for international art house, even Canadian independent cinema to be seen here in the city. The Westdale Theatre has always been a great home, but there have been points where the Westdale wasn't programmed to that mandate. There's the last several years of the Westdale, I would have to say, were programmed very, very close to that idea and concept, and very well. But there were points in the past where Jurassic Park was screening for 6 to 12 weeks at the Westdale, and that meant there was no home for that type of movie-going experience downtown. So the Art Gallery of Hamilton saw that as an opportunity to take this art form and present it through the gallery's lens into the art world, I guess you could say. So the film festival opened 9 years ago for the first time, and that was an opportunity to expand the program to include a lot of the great films that can't be shown over the course of the year. If you only show 15 films over the course of the year, you're only getting such a small percentage of what's out there. So the festival was a way to grow not only the variety of programming that we did over the course of the year, but also to grow the communities that you're reaching. I think as you diversify your program, you are in essence doing community outreach.
Yep.
So where the Art Gallery of Hamilton stands today, and the vision of the AGH and how it operates in the community, I think public art galleries often have the misconception of being an ivory tower type of organization. And I think with where we're currently headed, we're working to break down those walls and show the real face of the Art Gallery of Hamilton. It is people who are engaged in their community, people who are really personally invested in the arts and in the development of community. There are several reasons art gallery, public institutions have those reputations, but I think this festival is one of our great opportunities to take our programming outside of our walls and into the community and engage on a wider basis, and hopefully in the long run get a broader range of communities comfortable with being a part of the Art Gallery of Hamilton, because we have a magnificent collection, and the gallery does amazing things year-round, and it is for the community.
It is a great asset.
Yeah.
We're down to about 3 minutes. So
I want
we
got a lot to get through.
I want you, first of all, to comment on the cultural renaissance in Hamilton and just your perspective. And then I want to finish with something you've just raised, which is the future of the Westdale Theatre, something that, having grown up in Westdale and having had our foundation playing a part with the champions of that great restoration project, and tell me a little bit about where that may fit in the future of film broadly and the festival. But start with what's happened in Hamilton.
So the cultural renaissance that's taken place in Hamilton, I have been downtown on James Street now for more than 15 years. So I have seen it firsthand. Yes, I have seen it. Yeah, several lifetimes of James Street. I've seen it firsthand. I think with every development of the sort, it's complicated because there is a great renaissance happening, but there's also a lot of displacement that happens as a result of that. And I think as a member of the arts community, as an artist myself who was part of that process, I like to think that we bear some responsibility to ensure that the people who we inadvertently have helped displace to some degree are not forgotten, and that we as a community grow with the roots of our community still as a part of it. So to me, that's one of the most important challenges that faces the community as it continues to grow. Yeah. I think it's fantastic that more and more artists are moving to the city. I have met dozens of wonderful new Hamiltonians over the last couple of years, and I'm happy to work with some of them today. So I think it's a great change, and I think we have to recognize our responsibilities as we move forward.
Indeed.
As for the Westdale,
You got 1 minute.
1 minute. I think it's amazing what they're doing there. I'm really excited. I think it's an amazing building that I've had some great time in, and we hope to be there in the future with our festival. As our festival continues to grow, we can grow back into the Westdale because we did use it in the past.
Back to the future.
Back to the future.
So great to have you on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Looking forward both to our screening this weekend and to being a part of your festival and to the great things that the Art Gallery of Hamilton is contributing to this community and to the work that you're doing. Ryan Ferguson, it's been a pleasure to have you with us. Look forward to connecting again in the future.
Great. Thanks, Terry.
I'm Terry Cooke. You've been watching Hamilton's Vital Signs. We're out of time, but we'll see you again next month. Join us every Wednesday.
Join us